Imagine a man so feared, so ruthless, that mothers whispered his name to terrify their children into silence. Imagine a conqueror who left behind not just an empire stretching from the Pacific Ocean to Eastern Europe, but a genetic footprint so vast that scientists estimate 1 in every 200 men alive today is a direct descendant of him. This is the legacy of Genghis Khan, but behind his reputation as a military genius lies a darker story, a world of sexual violence, horrific practices, and disturbing traditions that history books often gloss over. To understand the horrors, we first need to see Genghis Khan not as the glorified horseman of Mongol legend, but as a brutal warlord who wielded sex as a weapon of terror. The conquest in sexual violence. When the Mongols swept across Asia, they didn't just conquer cities, they destroyed them. Whole populations were slaughtered, but women were often spared, only to suffer a different kind of brutality. For Genghis Khan and his generals, sexual violence wasn't random. It was systematic, deliberate, and used as a strategy to crush the spirit of their enemies. Imagine being in a city like Nishapur or Urgench. After days of siege, the walls collapse, the Mongols rush in, and blood fills the streets. Men are executed in mass, but the women are dragged away. Accounts describe them being distributed like spoils of war, with high-ranking officers taking the most beautiful, while others were forced into concubinage. To the Mongols, women were trophies, and their violation was a way of stamping dominance over conquered peoples. Officially, Genghis Khan had several wives, the most important being Borta, his first and chief consort. But beyond his wives, he maintained a massive number of concubines collected from conquered territories. Some historians claim the number was in the hundreds, possibly thousands, ranging from noble women to peasant girls. But what makes this especially disturbing is not just the sheer scale, it's how this system was enforced. Women had no choice. If the Khan desired them, they became part of his harem, stripped from their families and thrust into a world where refusal meant death. And because Genghis Khan believed in spreading his bloodline as widely as possible, sexual dominance became almost an imperial duty. Ritualized rape and humiliation. One of the most horrific practices attributed to Genghis Khan's forces was ritualized sexual violence in front of family members. Historical sources describe Mongol soldiers raping noble women in public squares to break the will of surviving citizens. Sometimes daughters of kings or rulers were forced into the Khan's bed as symbols of submission. The message was clear. Resistance would not only cost you your life, but the honor of your family forever. Sex was weaponized as much as the bow and arrow. Humiliation was part of conquest. To violate the women of a conquered city was to erase its pride, its future, and its dignity. Centuries later, the terrifying scope of Genghis Khan's sexual practices is visible in our DNA. A landmark 2003 genetic study revealed a striking pattern. A particular Y chromosome lineage is found in about 16 million men today, originating from the Mongol era. The only plausible explanation is widespread reproductive dominance by Genghis Khan and his descendants. This isn't the result of romance or voluntary unions. It's the shadow of mass rape, carried out over generations as the Mongols enforced their dominance through sexual exploitation. What scientists see in the gene pool is not just history, but trauma carved into humanity itself. Women as political pawns. Even within the Mongol court, women were pawns in Genghis Khan's empire building. Noble daughters were married off to secure alliances, often against their will. His daughters were sometimes forced into marriages with subjugated kings, used as tools of control. Yet at the same time, these women often became powerful rulers in their own right, balancing authority while living under the shadow of their father's brutal legacy. Still, the reality for most women was far from empowerment. For the average captive, life was defined by exploitation. Marriage, love, and choice were stripped away, replaced with survival in a harem system where the Khan's whims decided fate. The hypocrisy of Mongol law. What makes this story even more chilling is that Genghis Khan had codified laws known as the Yasa. The Yasa outlawed adultery, punished theft, and demanded loyalty. Yet when it came to sexual violence, the law bent in favor of the conquerors. Mongol men could take women from conquered lands at will, while women had no voice, no defense, and no protection. The law reflected the empire's priorities: stability for the Mongols, suffering for everyone else. Sexual practices of the elite. Beyond sheer violence, there are accounts, part fact, part legend, of bizarre and horrific practices among the Mongol elite. Some chronicles claim that Genghis Khan demanded virgins from conquered tribes to serve his needs. Others suggest young women were tested for fertility before entering his harem. In some cases, widows of defeated kings were forced to marry Mongol warriors as a way of erasing dynasties. Whether exaggerated or not, these tales align with a broader truth. Sexuality under the Mongol Empire was never about intimacy. It was about dominance, control, and submission. The psychological terror. Imagine the psychological warfare this created. News of Mongol brutality spread faster than their armies. Cities surrendered not just out of fear of massacre, but from the terror of knowing what would happen to their women if they resisted. The Mongols didn't need propaganda. They were the propaganda. Every act of rape and humiliation was a message carved into the memories of survivors. Genghis Khan is often celebrated today as a visionary leader who connected East and West, opened trade routes, and forged one of history's largest empires. But beneath the legend lies a darker truth. His empire was built on a foundation of terror, and sexual violence was one of his most horrific tools. When we speak of his genetic legacy, it's not a testament to charm or desirability. It's the haunting reminder of how power, violence, and domination can scar humanity for centuries. So the next time you hear the name Genghis Khan spoken with awe, remember this other story. Remember the countless women who were silenced, the families destroyed, the lives consumed by an empire that saw sex as a weapon. His true legacy isn't just one of conquest, it's one of suffering. And now I want to hear from you. Should history celebrate leaders like Genghis Khan for their empire building, or condemn them for the horrors they committed? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more dark, hidden stories from history, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and join us tomorrow for another chilling tale.